So thank you so much for listening to Blue Sky Radio. Today is the 25th of July. With me is Rhonda Snow. We're going to be speaking with her shortly. Pretty excited to have her with us today. She's got a really amazing story she's going to share with us. We've had Rhonda with us on Blue Sky Radio in the past. And Blue Sky Radio is the type of program that we like to focus on horses and also people helping horses. And in general, community members all throughout Canada or wherever you are that is doing something extraordinary or unique. So thank you so much, Rhonda, for coming on Blue Sky Radio today.
And thank you for having me.
So I know you've gone through some changes just recently. Lots of things have changed for you, but would you mind bringing our listeners up to date as far as who you are and some about these horses that you've dedicated so much of your life to help? Would you like to introduce yourself and speak a bit about the horses?
Okay, my name is Rhonda Snow. I'm from northwestern Ontario. My father is Status from White Earth, and my mother is Métis. I've lived in this area all my life, raised Catholic, and then later on I seeked out spirituality with the Native culture, and in that time of seeking, through the horses, I was riding a little Ojibway horse in the States and ran into a lady on a KXC radio, and she did interviews with me. And then Larry Atkin from Leech Lake, he was from Grand Rapids. He was a teacher there. He came on the radio, and he discussed how the little ponies were always here, and they were introduced to the Ojibway by the Algonquin that came from the east. And that was a big surprise to me, because when I first was aware that these little ponies existed and was participating in organizing rescues, the Rare Breeds Canada and a lot of information about them said they were Spanish descent or maybe Canadians, they weren't sure. So listening to the stories when I was younger, I remember the loggers talking about these little ponies, but I had no idea. So when I was asked to do a rescue, I had no clue that they were possibly a horse that was always here. So it meant a lot to me since I was born in this area, and I had heard the stories from the loggers long ago. So that's why I guess you could say, dove into it. And I had no idea for at least maybe 5 years into the rescues that the truth was that the elders said they were always here. So
Yeah, that's really incredible, because a lot of people say, there were no horses in North America and things like that before the Spanish and things like that. And you're from Northern Ontario, so what about these horses? Because some of the things that I've learned just by knowing you is, the little horses from the big woods, and some of the you also paint, so some of the stories that the elders have shared, you paint, so it's really amazing.
It was amazing. I remember the first time, for about 4 years, I believe that what the book said and what, people with a high education said, that the Spaniards had brought the horses up. And I remember listening to a few stories and thinking about what the loggers told me and wondering how these little horses could be trained so well for the people of the woods around here. And a lot of times they said they never had blinkers or reins, and when the stories first started coming out, and the more I asked, I started to question a lot of it. And I was no expert in history or geography, so I was just really quite surprised at what I was feeling at the time. I remember an elder came up to me, a Métis elder, and he was one of the first ones I asked about these little ponies and if he remembered them, questioning the whole thing, the process of the truth from the book. And he said, yeah. He said, my dad had them. we were commercial fishermen at the time, and my dad handled them quite well, and they all had little dorsal stripes. And he said we would hook them up 3 in a row without blinkers. And I remember in the history books it even stated that they didn't even use reins at the time. I don't remember if that man talked about reins, but he said they hooked 3 in a row, and they would pull the heavy, he said, fish in huge boxes piled high off the ice, and down the winding trails they'd go, and they worked so hard. And they would head back in the mornings, and the holes would be frozen over, and the little ponies would go out there on the ice and paw, because they knew where the best place was to get the thinnest ice for water, and they would find the little fishing holes that they would drop their nets in. And when he explained about what they look like, and yes, he said these ones that you have here that you brought back into the homeland are just like the little ones we had. And he explained all of them had little dorsal stripes that were quite, really quite a strong characteristic of the breed, and little thick little ears, hair in their ears so that the bugs didn't get at them. So that was one of the first stories, and I remember I was very teary-eyed, and it was a confirmation. And after that, I started asking elders if they had them, and a lot of them couldn't remember, but a lot of them could. And so when the stories started coming out, I just would store them in my heart, and eventually I started to paint in 2015. And I did dabble in a little bit before that, but really I started to paint when I was left here to fend for myself with the horses, and it was quite a struggle, and it just really felt good for me to release those stories onto canvas.
Yeah, you're quite talented artist. It's really amazing that you're self-taught. Whenever you share your photos or your paintings on Facebook, you get many people loving your paintings and giving you all sorts of confirmation of how talented and how special those paintings are.
Well, thank you very much. This day and age, people warn me, don't put them on, but these stories are for everyone, and it's not about the money, I understand that, but I really do want the proceeds to go towards the horses, and maybe having wild preserves, like little bands, for the horses, so that they could live very similar to what they used to, and I know that's a very big, big dream. I remember the first time when I started to paint, I didn't have a lot of money at all, and I used to use, a friend of mine would give me her rabbit hides. I used to paint on those because I didn't have canvas, so it's kind of funny going back on memory lane now.
How many paintings do you have?
I'm not sure exactly. I think in the living room here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 that I'm working on right now. My native name is Mina Ziziba, Quebec, the woman that goes around in circles in the sky, on the land and in the water, doing good things. So it seems like I continue that name, the meaning of my name and my paintings, because I go from one painting to another painting, and it's almost like I go in circles, and when I finally get one done, then I could even add another painting into the mix. So it's just being self-taught, and the hours, some of them take 3 months to do, and others might take a couple weeks.
So I remember watching your story from many years ago when you were on the Native Report,
Right?
when you did go down to Minnesota to bring some of these horses back.
Yeah.
And that's many years ago now. So what has your journey been like since then?
Well, that was a big thing there, because at Native Report they talked about stories in the Boys Fort Reservation about remembering the horses, and they talked about a little red horse. I remember that they had, and it at the time when they came to visit me first, before I visited Boys Fort, the summer camp, a little red horse appeared when he was telling the story at the ranch here.
No.
It came just out of the barn and it didn't have a name. And the elder that was telling me the story of the little red horse, I remember that moment that we named that little red horse that appeared in front of us, almost like it was listening to the story.
Yeah.
And when I went down to Native Report, more stories came out there. At the time, it was believed that the Spanish or the Canadian horse was part of the breed. So a lot has been uncovered. And it was mainly the historian, Larry Atkinen from Grand Rapids, that brought to light what the elders have always been saying. It was a shock.
You've mentioned the birch bark scrolls in the past.
Right.
So what
He
is...
explained that the birch bark scrolls, in the birch bark scrolls, it has those little horses in the birch bark scrolls, and he did put a date on the scrolls, and I can't remember exactly what it is because my iPad is down, but 1400s.
Mm-hmm. Well, that predates when Europeans came to North America.
Right.
That's really incredible. And some of the stories, too, that you've shared, I know one of the paintings that you were just sharing is the one where the children are crying and the ponies come to... They're responding to the children crying, and they come out of the woods. Like, that talks about a very special commitment and connection that people had to the horses.
It was very spiritual. It was a very big connection with the spirits inside of humans and horses, and it's the horse nation that came out of the woods to help the humans, the children that were crying under the schoolhouse, and they gave them comfort and stayed by their side. The children didn't take from the horses gave.
Mm-hmm.
And the humans never set up and controlled the horses were free. So it's a totally different relationship between both nations, that they connected with each other's spirits and they needed each other without demanding anything and
Mm-hmm.
causing pressure on each other. They gave, and the people gave back.
Yeah. It speaks about a different time, for sure. I mean, it would be interesting to know some of the stories that, you know, how do horses and people grow together in that kind of way? Because we're not really used to seeing horses in that way. You know, in the world we live in, a lot of people use a lot of power over animals when they can, as opposed to try to create a relationship where, you know, choice is the reason, as opposed to forcing somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like there's every part of a herd or every part of a flock or every part of a pack has very special value. And with the horses, they're the ones that understood them clearly were the people of the woods that were very grounded and connected with the earth, and they were humble. They were not, you know, showered with valuable items or pampered. They worked hard, and they understood what the important things in life were. And each day as the sun rose, the animals were grateful and the people were grateful. And with the horses, we can still understand that if we allow them to be themselves and not use them for entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And let them bring us down to earth more and ground us with what's really important, and that's life and living a good life, and they can guide us. They're our spirit animals.
Oh, it's really nice to hear you talk about all this, because, you know, where I live, it's a very busy city. It's very that's growing. There's traffic everywhere. It's bustling. People are moving everywhere. People are really busy. People are not really stopping and enjoying. So you're talking about a world really where we get more connected to, what really actually matters, something that's bigger than us. People are chasing money and glory and all of these things, but it's very short-sighted.
It is. It is very short-sighted, and it's what the animate objects, the real living, created objects from creation, are what we need to honor. And there was a filmmaker that called me once in Winnipeg, and the main street of Winnipeg is Main Street, and I can't remember the other one, but it goes in a T. And when you get to that T on Main Street, the traffic during rush hour is just incredibly busy. Well, you're talking about somebody that lives at the end of a dirt road, so to me it's incredibly busy, but Toronto's probably thousands times more busy. But the filmmaker said when he got to Main Street, and he had to call me and tell me what happened, he said a white horse was right in the middle of all the traffic. And he got out and moved his vehicle to somewhere where he could get out, and he ran through the traffic to help this white horse.
Oh, wow.
And when he finally got to the white horse looked at him and said no. And he knew right away it was spirit talk, it was spiritual. This white horse was here to help him. And it was a big vision he went through, and he gave me a call. And he had just visited here at the ranch a few days before that. So, even in the city, the spirit horse is able to go.
That's nice. Yeah, I guess remembering something bigger than us in the middle of this. It's so true, because sometimes I have to look up at the sky, or like I stop to listen to the birds. Like there's still city, or even in the city there are signs of nature and signs of life. The intersection of that is, like you say, can be a bit of a shock. Like when you come from a quiet place into a busy place, it's sometimes a bit of an adjustment. And
And for that spirit horse to appear in the busiest intersection in Winnipeg at the busiest hour,
yeah,
for this man who traveled here to see the horses, was quite a awakening event. This man, who was a filmmaker.
yeah, calling out to him, I suppose, showing him he's on the right path.
Yeah, that maybe who knows, like, it's a story to share, because the spirit of those horses could have traveled with him back to his busy life.
Yeah.
So there's many stories, and I think the path has had its challenges. The ponies have prevailed. The bloodlines are spreading. Alone here with the horses was a lot of pressure. And when I found Terry Jenkins from TJ Stables, I spoke with her a couple months ago, and I wasn't sure if I could make it through another winter, since I didn't have equipment. And being alone, it's very vulnerable when you have a herd that needs care. So you're very vulnerable because you need help.
Yeah.
And many times I hand-pushed large bales out myself through the deep snow, would shovel the snow to try to get a path for the big bales in the water. And it was every day, pretty much. You would be hours on end, and it's freezing. Sometimes it's 30, 40 below. So I didn't know if I could do that again. And when I found Terry Jenkins, she talked to me, and she was ready in her stage in her life to open herself up to a different way of thinking with the horses. And she's an accomplished horsewoman. So she understood a lot of things in the Western way, and I, of course, haven't done nearly what Terry's done, but I had been traveled around quite a bit too. And this is a different way of life with horses. So Terry right away understood, and she's on board, which took a lot of pressure off of me.
Yeah, it's definitely a big thing that you've been doing, and I know there's been a lot of struggle. For one woman to do what you've done, you've accomplished a lot, and you did protect and preserve those rare breeds that still exist because of you, basically, right now. And it is,
There is other breeders out there, and they're doing a wonderful job. I ended up doing the best I could, and I'm so grateful for getting this far. I learned a lot from these little horses, and as I got more connected with them and didn't ask as much from them as I did at the first, because I trained probably, I don't know how many, for workshops and equine assisted learning. Didn't have a lot of time, and they were wild, and had to put them into a training program. But my training program at the time was changed directions also, and took a very different direction with the native cultural way of thinking with the horses and them understanding rhythm, and there was a different approach, and it came just at the right time when these wild horses came into my care, and I knew that to survive and be able to feed them, I had to work, put them to work for workshops with at-risk youth, and had to get them trained, but I did train them in a different direction, and so that was the beginning of that journey of really trying to ground myself and not break the horses, to keep their spirits as most intact as I could. And from that day on, it was a different way of looking at things, and that's something that Terry's interested in, and I'm so fortunate to find Terry. So we have a lot of plans.
that's good. It seems like a good transition.
It is. I talk to Terry quite often, and she seems to be really up for the challenge. My weight on my shoulders has lightened quite a bit. So I'm hoping to be traveling there, and I do have a place to stay, so I'm really looking forward to the next trail I travel with these little horses with Terry.
Yeah, that's exciting.
I still have a lot of paintings that I want to do, so I'm going to be working on them, and the more I can get them on canvas, the lighter my loads will be too, because I can share them with other people. And Terry's up for board with that. Matter of fact, I think I'm sure she must have about 12 or so there. She's got them hanging up in an area that people can enjoy them. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I like that about you, that you're very, like you say, it's about the story. So as opposed to holding on to them, and because obviously a lot of artists, they want to claim their work because it's something that they make money on and things like that. But your art has a bigger purpose than that. So you're very generous and let people see, because you care about people knowing about where these stories come from.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's something to hoard, that's for sure. And when I first started to paint, I just could not do it. I had such difficulties. I think at first I burnt more than I created. And as time went by, it was like, no, I just got to just put it down there and somehow I've tried thinking about even painting with the modern colors. I would go to the city for events, and I see the new modern colors of tans and blacks and whites and sometimes pink or burgundy, and that's what someone would decorate their house in, and I would think, oh my goodness, my paintings would never fit into this new modern decorating style. Maybe I should just go with blue, with tan and white. But I find that the world has gone so in a different way. There's so many homeless and so many people that need help that it's darkened in a lot of areas, and people sometimes can be a little bit selfish. And the bright colors just keep on popping up because they add light, they add color, it feels like they add hope. to catch someone's eye and catch somebody's spirit inside them.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully they can spread that different way of thinking.
Oh, definitely. I mean, your paintings are the kind of things that you would make space for, right?
I surely would hope so, but I don't know. But it's just what's in my heart. And it just seems like the more I paint, the brighter the paintings are getting. So, and plus, I think also I'll be able to afford to get better quality paints with better pigment. And it just seems like I'm being able to, and I'm learning as I go. So to get that brighter color is just something that makes me feel like it's, even the colors are telling a bit of a story of how exciting the world is.
Yeah.
Appreciate creator.
It's joyous in a way, because when I see your paintings, I just feel like you communicate something via your paintings that you can capture, like right away when you see it, you go, oh wow, like that is amazing. Like knowing some of the stories that you're sharing, or sometimes you have a few words to go along with your painting to kind of give the background, or what it's about. You're really giving life to how these horses have helped people for such a long time, really. It's like a parallel path that always existed with us.
Yeah, and it's everyone's story. It's everyone's. It doesn't matter. The medicine wheel is all colors. These are people. It's everybody's story of people who appreciate nature and the joy of the woods. And if I can offer paintings to help other people that are breeding these horses, to help them pay, I mean, that would be wonderful. It's really all a part of everybody working as a team together. And my dad, who's a very wise man, always says to me, it takes one person to clap, but it takes many for an applause. So if everybody can benefit, because these stories don't have horses performing for the Olympics, and they don't have horses reining. These horses are in the woods, and these are the stories from the elders. And it's in a different direction, and I think that the history books have a purpose, but the elders' stories and the elders' knowledge have a really big wealth of knowledge that everyone can benefit from when it comes to medicines, to prayer. And there's a lot of times long ago that people thought it was maybe not right to pray that way or this and that. But this is just things that we're going to learn more and more as we go and get directions from our elders.
So what's next for you now?
That's a good question. I think day to day, I'm just going to go with my heart, and I don't know. It's been a lot of pressure in the past, so I think what I need to do is just kind of relax and finish my paintings, and then decide someday if I'll
Nice.
be a caregiver to a few horses. And I mean, a dream would always be to be able to camp with my little horses again and spend the evenings and nights out in the woods with them. I used to love to do that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it's just day to day and helping Terry, helping others, and just not having so much pressure, and see how that feels first.
Yeah. That sounds really good, Rhonda. I'm so happy that you're in a good place. I know it's been really difficult, and you really took it on, courageously, and you didn't waver, really. You stayed with these horses, so.
Well,
Yeah.
it was the shock when I heard about them, and when I had one day to get $1,500 to a horse that was in a rescue in Toronto at Heaven Point Rescue Center, or whether it was 3 stallions I was sleeping with on a highway that was closed in a snowstorm that were that needed rescuing from the, I think, Toronto area, or the ones that I had a day to say yes or no that were getting killed by the wolves or they were going to get shot. And that was a huge herd. Like, I shouldn't say huge, but a lot of stallions, and I think there could have been 7 or 9 in that, but they were in the States, and I had to go there. So there was a lot of decisions to make and a lot of pressure. So, and a lot of work to try to get all the kids here with equine-assisted learning and the trail rides, pony clubs, and workshops. So it was a lot, and now I think it's time to just reflect, and there's so much to share now. So that's going to be a big job.
Mm-hmm. Good. Very good. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me. Is there anything else that you want to share about before we hang up today?
The only thing I can say is I really thank Rare Breeds Canada for sticking by me, the Ojibway Horse Society. Trevor has been just wonderful. He's the registrar on there. Terry Jenkins. And I can't begin to thank all of the people who have helped me in the last 4.5 years. I could never, ever have made it without those. And I'm trying not to cry right now. You heard my cries, and you know who you are, and I have your names on the stars in the barn, and I will forever, ever carry them with me, and I promised all you that. I will take them to carry the stars with your names on them and the people that supported me. Fred Isham and his family, the families that owned the last 4 original mares and the stallions up at Lac La Croix. It's just such a big story, and all the people that had stories of these little ponies throughout Canada and Minnesota, and the ones that keep on sharing the stories. I have to thank everybody so much. And yourself.
Thank you. Well, it's been really nice to get to know you and follow your passion and your love for these horses. It's been really special, and really thankful for people like Christine Gallant and Kakbets and these advocacy groups and these women that are just so compassionate and caring. Even though we live so far away from each other, it's nice to know that people are out there that still care to take the time.
Yes. The Canadian Wild Horse cares a lot about wild horses. And they care a lot about other things with the horses too, but they really care about the spirits of the horses and the value of wild horses.
Yeah.
So they are relentlessly every day out there as a voice for them. And I will be hopefully back at equine assisted learning and helping a special way of connecting with the wild horse and the spirits of the horses, and that's a dream for me that I look forward to coming true. So, and every step of the way, I'm hoping to be able to share with everybody and learn from others too.
Are you going to be staying where you are located at the moment? Like, are you staying in Northern Ontario?
My plan is to go back and forth. So, I have my heart is here, and my heart is over there where the areas and the herds and the futures. So it's only one flight away each time. So I would think that back and forth would be the answer for me.
Yeah. Nice. Well, that's really exciting, and I hope that regarding our event that we're organizing here in Kitchener in September, if we can manage to get you there, that would be amazing to have you as a speaker and maybe presenting some of your paintings and things like that. We would love that.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I was just speaking with Terry about the schedule there, and I will mention to Terry, I just actually got a map.
Oh, nice.
Today I found a map, so I'm going to look you up on the map and see where I'm heading to that other expo. So I think it's in Sudbury around that time, so I'm not sure, but I'm going to take a look at that, and I definitely would love to attend.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be a dream come true for me. So.
Well, it's just simple. And that's all it is. It's nothing fancy and nothing sparkly or nothing, not of anything about money. But it's something so simple that is good for all of us, all the spirits and everyone.
That's what we need nowadays is people giving for the reason is giving and the reason is connecting. It's not accumulating or getting more fame to anyone. It's just actually sharing and giving and connecting. Like that's really what this event that we're organizing is about too, is getting to know people and sharing things that, you know, might be new to somebody. Because people can, you know, sometimes we get stuck in our little rut, or, you know, we get stuck in with our blinders on. So it's nice to see people from different walks of life and just to kind of, you know, try to get each other talking and things like that. Something that I really care about for sure. So
yeah, like heart-to-heart talks, and maybe a reason to simplify your lives and get rid of a lot of stuff. A lot of people call it minimalist now, but the less we free our load up and our responsibilities for things that really weren't created by the Creator would allow us to spend a little bit more time with what a certain culture or the land or spirit animals, or learning a little bit more about what this area has to offer us, Canada.
yeah, I love that. Okay, Rhonda, well, thank you so much. We've been sharing at the same time as we were speaking with you. We have a little thing going on Blue Sky Radio, just your image with your paintings, really, so people have a bit of an idea of what you do. So, yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much.
Yes, and thank you so much, too. I'm part of the Loon clan, so I have no problem flying back and forth, so I'm hoping to do more of that.
There you go.
Thank
That's
you
awesome.
so much.
Thank you, Rhonda. Have a really awesome day today. Talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you, Blue Sky Radio.
Bye. That was Rhonda Snow. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. She's a really amazing artist. She has done a lot for the little horses from the big woods. And yeah, good luck, Rhonda, with everything that you take up. And we're looking forward to speaking with you again in the future.